On Christmas morning, 2002, a building contractor from West Virginia became the largest single-ticket lottery winner in American history. $314,900,000 on one ticket bought on impulse with a breakfast sandwich. He was not a poor man hoping for a miracle. He already owned a successful construction company and was worth around $17 million. 4 years later, his granddaughter was dead. His daughter was dead. His marriage was over and the money was gone. He said publicly that he wished he had torn the ticket up. This is what happened in between. Andrew Jackson Jr., Jack, to everyone who knew him, grew up poor in the coalfields of southern West Virginia and left school early. He built a water and sewer contracting business from nothing. By his 50s, it employed over 100 people, and he was, by any measure of his own world, a wealthy man. He lived in the same area he came from. He gave to churches. He hired local people. He was known for turning up personally on job sites in a cowboy hat. He had a wife, a daughter, Ginger, and a granddaughter named Brandi, who was 15 and who he described as the center of his life. That last detail matters more than anything else in this story, so hold on to it. On the morning of the 25th of December, he stopped at a convenience store, bought breakfast, and added $100 of tickets. He bought tickets regularly. He had done it for years. There was nothing about that morning that felt different at the time. He paid for a breakfast sandwich and $100 of tickets, drove home, and did not check the numbers until his wife told him the jackpot had been won in West Virginia. He has described sitting with the ticket, checking it several times, and then waking his wife. Neither of them slept again that night. By the time he reached the lottery office in Charleston, the story was already national. A West Virginia contractor had won the largest single jackpot ever paid to one person in the United States. The store where he bought it became a landmark within a day. People drove there to buy tickets from the same counter, as though the counter were the thing that had done it. The odds against that ticket were about 1 in 120 million. He won. He took the lump sum rather than the annuity. After taxes, that came to about $114 million paid at once. An annuity would have paid him for 30 years. The lump sum paid him in a single day. He chose the day. Financial advisors almost always argue for the annuity, precisely because it removes the possibility of a single catastrophic year. He wanted to build with it immediately, and he had the track record to believe he could. That belief was not unreasonable. He had turned a small contracting outfit into a company with 100 employees. He had handled money before. What he had not handled was being publicly identified as the man who has it. There is a second thing the lump sum does that is rarely mentioned. It converts a 30-year problem into a single-year problem, and it does that at the exact moment the winner is least able to think clearly. And then he did the thing that decided everything that followed. He went on television and said who he was, where he lived, and what he intended to do with it. West Virginia law does not allow winners to stay anonymous, but Jack did not merely comply. He gave interviews. He was likable, quotable, and generous on camera. He pledged 1/10 of the money to churches. He set up a foundation. He promised to keep the store clerk who sold him the ticket comfortable for life, and he kept that promise. He also gave money to the store itself, to people who had worked for him, and to families he had known for decades. In the first months, the giving was not performative. It was simply how he had always operated at a new scale. The foundation he created was not a public relations exercise. It funded churches, food banks, and scholarships in a part of the country where those things are genuinely scarce. For a while, the arrangement worked in exactly the way people imagine it should. A local man with money was spending it locally, on people he knew by name. For a few weeks, he was the best possible version of a lottery story. A local man, already successful, who intended to spread it around. Then the letters started. Hundreds a week, then thousands. Sick children, failing businesses, medical bills, church roofs, strangers with reasons. People came to the house. They waited at the end of the drive. They stopped him in car parks. He described being unable to go anywhere without someone asking. By his own account, he was receiving hundreds of requests every week, and he tried at first to read them. Consider what that actually means. 400 stories a week, each one real to the person who wrote it, each one impossible to verify, and every yes creating a precedent for the next 1,000. He hired people to help sort them. He set up a foundation to make the giving structured. Neither solved the underlying problem, which was that he was now, permanently, the answer to other people's emergencies. He said something in an interview that is easy to miss. He said he could no longer tell whether anyone was pleased to see him or pleased to see what he could do. That is not self-pity. It is an accurate description of what happens when every relationship acquires a price, including the ones that existed for 40 years before the money. Lawsuits followed. Some were serious. Many were opportunistic. He would eventually be involved in hundreds of legal actions, and lawyers would consume a meaningful share of the money. This is the first mechanism people underestimate. A very large public sum does not just attract requests. It attracts claims, and claims have to be answered whether or not they are true. Some of the suits were from employees. Some were from people who said they had been injured on his property. Casinos sued him over bounced checks. He sued a bank. Each case took time, lawyers, and money, and most of them were settled rather than won. Settling is the rational choice each time. It is also cumulative. A person who settles 100 small claims has not lost 100 small cases. They have taught a large number of people that filing works. He bought houses and cars. He gave money to family and to strangers. And he started carrying large amounts of cash in briefcases in his truck. That last habit is the one that would keep costing him. He liked being able to solve a problem in front of him with money, immediately, in person. People who knew him describe a man handing out $1,000 notes to waitresses, to strangers in car parks, to anyone who told him a story that landed. He was not buying anything. He was being the person he had always been, with 100 times the ammunition. He was also, by every account including his own, drinking far more than he had before and sleeping far less. In August 2003, 8 months after the win, someone drugged his drink at a strip club outside Charleston and took a briefcase from his car. The briefcase held $545,000 in cash and cashier's checks. He was carrying it because he had been carrying it for months. 3 men were later charged. The money was recovered from a car, but the story ran nationally, and it told every opportunist in the state exactly what Jack kept in his vehicle. Consider the position that puts a person in. He could stop carrying cash and lose the only version of himself he recognized, or keep carrying it and stay a target. He kept carrying it. The money was recovered. The pattern was not. 5 months later, he was robbed again in similar circumstances of a smaller amount. In January 2004, roughly $100,000 was taken from his car outside a bar. He reported it. The pattern was now public, repeated, and to the people around him, entirely predictable. He became a regular presence at bars, and at a strip club he effectively adopted, and a regular subject of police reports. The likable local man from the press conference was becoming somebody else. There were drink-driving arrests. There were assault allegations from a bar. There was an order to attend rehabilitation. None of it looked like the man in the cowboy hat promising to tithe his winnings. Casinos took him for large sums and then sued him when the checks did not clear. In one action, a casino sought well over $1 million in gambling debts, which tells you both how much he was losing and how welcome he was made. He was also gambling heavily. The venues knew him. The people around him knew what he carried. His wife later said the same thing in several interviews in almost the same words. The money changed him, and it changed the people around him faster. That second half is the part people skip. He did not simply become worse. The number of people with a reason to be near him, and almost none of those reasons had anything to do with him. Brandi, his granddaughter, was 15 when he won. He gave her a large allowance and later, several cars. She became, overnight, the richest teenager in her school and in her county, and the attention that came with it was not the kind a 15-year-old can manage. He gave her, by various accounts, around $2,000 a week. She was 17 when she died. Do the arithmetic on what that money buys a teenager in a county with few jobs and a serious drug problem. Her friends changed. The cars she was given were used by people around her. Her grandfather kept trying to fix each new problem the same way, and each fix made the next problem larger. Her mother tried to intervene. Her grandmother tried. The money was not something a family could simply switch off, and by then it had become the medium in which everyone in the house communicated. People attached themselves to her. Her grandfather's answer to most problems was money, and money was the one thing that made her situation worse. In September 2004, her boyfriend died of a drug overdose in Jack's house. 20 months into the money, Brandi died in September 2005, aged 17. The cause was ruled a drug overdose. She had been missing for 2 weeks. Her family had been looking for her. That is the whole of what needs saying about it here. She was 17 years old. 2.5 years earlier, she had been a 15-year-old in a small West Virginia town with an ordinary life in front of her. Jack never spoke about her in the past tense comfortably again. In every later interview, the answer to what the money cost him was the same word: Brandi. He said in one interview that he wished he had torn the ticket up, and then added the sentence that most reports leave out, that his granddaughter would still be alive. Her mother, his daughter Ginger, died 4 years later in 2009. His marriage ended. He was, by then, living largely alone. Gave interviews afterwards. Asked what she would change, she said she wished they had torn the ticket up, not spent it differently, torn it up. By 2007, he was telling reporters that the money was gone. That claim is often repeated and rarely examined, so it is worth being precise. Some of it went to genuine giving, churches, a foundation, jobs, and a great many individual checks to individual people. A large amount went to lawyers and settlements. He was sued by casinos over bounced checks, sued by employees, sued by strangers, and he sued in return. Some of it was simply stolen from his car, from his house, and according to him, from accounts he had opened for other people. In 2007, he told reporters that a bank account had been emptied by forged checks. Whatever the accounting, the direction was one way, and the outflow never slowed for long. It is worth being clear about the scale of what would have been required to keep it. $114 million, conservatively invested, produces several million a year without touching the principal. Losing it, therefore, does not require recklessness alone. It requires recklessness plus theft plus litigation plus the absence of anyone with both the standing and the will to say stop. And a great deal of it was spent in the way that money is spent when a person is not sleeping and is trying not to be alone. From the press conference to the interviews about having nothing left took about 5 years. His daughter's house burned down. His own home was broken into more than once. He sold assets. The construction company, the thing he had actually built, was not what people asked him about anymore. The company he had spent 30 years building became a footnote in his own story. He had been, before all this, a man who was good at something specific and difficult. It is tempting to treat this as one man's weakness. The research does not support that reading. Studies of large lottery winners find a consistent pattern of financial distress within a few years, and a strong relationship between the size of the win, publicity, and the collapse that follows. One frequently cited study of large winners found that a substantial share had filed for bankruptcy within 5 years, a rate no better, and in some samples worse, than people who never won anything, and is not an isolated case, which is the part that should give anyone pause. Abraham Shakespeare won $30 million in Florida in 2006 and was murdered by a woman who had inserted herself into his finances. Billy Bob Jr. won $31 million in Texas and took his own life within 2 years, after telling a financial advisor that winning was the worst thing that ever happened to him. David Lee Edwards won $27 million, spent it in under a decade, and died in a hospice having lived in a storage unit. 4 different men, 4 different states, 4 different personalities, and the same shape of ending. At some point, a pattern stops being a collection of individual failures. Money does not come with a manual, and a sudden fortune arrives with no adjustment period at all. Everything a person learned about their own life stops applying on a single afternoon. There are also winners nobody can name, because they claimed quietly, told almost nobody, and continued to live in a way that did not attract attention. Those are the successful outcomes, and they are invisible by design. What breaks first is not usually the bank balance. It is the set of relationships the person had before, which cannot survive being repriced. Every friendship becomes a transaction. Every relative becomes a claimant. Every stranger becomes either a request or a threat, and there is no way to tell which in advance. Jack's specific mistake was not generosity. It was visibility. He answered the question that the law forced him to answer, and then he kept answering it. Financial advisors who work with sudden wealth say the same thing in different words. The first decision is not what to buy. It is who is allowed to know. In states that permit it, winners are advised to claim through a trust, to tell almost nobody, to change nothing for a year, and to hire people whose only job is to say no on their behalf. Jack did the opposite of every one of those, not out of vanity, but because he did not think of himself as somebody who needed protecting from his own neighbors. Several states have since changed their rules to allow winners to stay anonymous, and cases like this one are cited directly in the arguments for those changes. He lived another 15 years. He gave interviews when asked, and he was consistent in all of them. He kept living in West Virginia. He was seen at the same places. People still approached him for money years after there was none, because the story had become larger than the facts of it. He and later separated. He kept a low profile in his last years. When he spoke about the win, it was almost always to warn somebody else off wanting one. He said he would tear the ticket up. Not because of the robberies, not because of the lawsuits, and not because of the money. Because of a 15-year-old girl who, before that Christmas, had a completely ordinary life ahead of her. Jack died in 2020, at the age of 72. That is the long consequence. One ticket bought with a breakfast sandwich on a morning that felt like nothing at all. If you want the next story, subscribe. They almost never look like decisions at the time.